If those big mystery drones were buzzing the metro area, I bet there'd be a lot more urgency to find out what's happening. But they'll be back out over the Eastern Plains tonight, and even the governor says he doesn't know what's happening. The reason why the world's largest firefighting plane hasn't been called from Colorado to Australia. A decade of commuting without seeing rush hour once. And this guy can't see the traffic either. Foresight does not seem to be his specialty. That's next. Colorado counties have individual emergency plans. In case of a flood, head for high ground. In case of a wildfire, use this evacuation route. Except in 10 of our state's 64 counties, their plan consists of, in case of emergency, good luck, kids. The state's emergency management director tells Marshall Zellinger he wants every county to get it together this year.
It's quiet in the state's emergency management operations war room.
I think we all prefer quieter days when given a choice.
When this room is fully operational, something bad is likely happening.
Wildland fires, floods, tornadoes, blizzards.
The state's Office of Emergency Management relies on each county to notify its residents in case of emergency. Usually it's through an email or text service that requires you to sign up. On average, only 12% of residents sign up for those services. That leaves 9 out of 10 people in the dark. This colorful map, however, shows how counties are starting to be more proactive. The green counties, a little more than half of Colorado's 64 counties, can already send you a warning message directly to your cell phone based on your location around a cell phone tower. It's similar to the Amber Alerts that jolt you.
This is our part. This is what we can do, but it's just one of the tools.
The yellow shaded counties are in the middle of a process to become like the green counties. The gray counties haven't even started yet, though emergency managers in Fremont County and Yuma County told me today they're starting that process shortly. Another interesting stat from this office is about the number of counties that have no emergency plan in writing, no policy to refer to in case of emergency. 10 counties just wing it. So what's wrong with those 10 counties?
I never look at it as what's wrong. It's just what's left to do.
Are those residents of the 10 counties less safe than the other counties?
They're less prepared.
Someone's laughing, and we shouldn't be laughing at that. So we figured out the 10 counties based on math. This morning, the director put out an email saying 83% of the counties have a plan in place. We did the math. That means 10 counties don't. We're trying to find out still which of those 10 counties wing it, as I said, wing it.
I don't mean to laugh. It's just his reaction. You just stone cold.
They just have some work to do.
Yeah, work to do. All right, very good. Thank you, Marshall. Bunch of men in Congress are asking the Supreme Court to reconsider overturning abortion rights. Colorado's Republican House members signed on to this brief today. Ken Buck, Doug Lamborn, and Scott Tipton all asked the Supreme Court to reconsider Roe v. Wade, along with another case that upheld abortion rights. Republican Senator Cory Gardner did not join that congressional letter that was signed by a total of 194 men and 13 women. If anyone really knows what's going on with the mystery drones over eastern Colorado, you figure it would be the FAA. Look closely, though, at the FAA's statements about this situation, and it sure looks like they either don't know what's going on or they don't want us to think they know what's going on. The FAA has gone from saying little to virtually nothing. Last Friday, December 27th, an FAA spokesman said they had no FAA drone reports in Colorado matching this. The FAA referred us to the military, suggesting they truly were in the dark. Monday, December 30th, we asked whether the operators had filed the required FAA permits. Another FAA spokesman said he didn't have any knowledge about the type of operation that allegedly took place. Again, wording that implies that the FAA could not even confirm the drone sweeps. Later that day, December 30th, the FAA said, "We're in contact with local law enforcement, but we don't have any concrete information to act on at this time." Again, a suggestion that even the FAA does not know who's buzzing the Eastern Plains. The next day, Tuesday, December 31st, the FAA confirms an active federal investigation is ongoing and uses that fact to shut down our further questions. Today, January 2nd, the Sedgwick County Sheriff canceled a planned interview with 9 News after he talked with the FAA. He did say that sheriffs will meet with the agency on Monday. If you're tempted to think that this whole drone mystery is just some kind of harmless prank, Consider the perspective of a company that uses drones to examine power lines across Colorado and Nebraska. That company told our Steve Steger they fear this could get dangerous for their employees.
It's gotten a little bit more serious.
Dusty Burge owns UAV Recon out of Nebraska. His drones survey power lines for utilities in northeast Colorado and Nebraska, seen here in this cool video he sent us. After endless emails and messages, he posted on Facebook to assure people these drones aren't those drones.
We've got a good reputation for our business, and we didn't want this unknown situation to give our customers a bad rap.
Burge says his company works to communicate to the public before their drones go to work, especially if they're going to be working at night. That's what makes this story rather surprising to him.
I am surprised that no one stepped forward, because if I was a company, bad news spreads way faster than the good news.
But what he worries about more than a bad reputation is the safety problems associated with this. Burge says he isn't sure who's sending those drones out each night. His team had a few weeks off for the holiday. He just hopes this company comes forward soon and stops the madness before his crews go back to work.
What I'm worried about is the safety of my employees. Like, I've had people, threaten myself or employees, either both to shoot the drone or them physically, and that's unnerving.
Now, Burge did tell me he's met with clients and others in his company recently, and after all this, he says his team will have to communicate with the public even more proactively than before. He says, give it maybe 5 years and drone sightings like this won't be so new and won't attract so much attention, because he says maybe in 5 years there will be so many of them up there that they'll just become a regular part of the sky, like you're watching an airplane at night kind of soaring through the sky.
Just a constant mechanical humming like bugs at night.
Yeah.
With the drones in the air. So, okay, all right, so let's game plan this out. Whoever is doing this is on the ground somewhere in the Colorado-Nebraska area, so they know that this is getting media attention. There's no way that they don't know. They have to know. Okay.
Right.
And the fact that they have not come forward by this point to say, oh, hey, it's us, don't worry about it, suggests they don't care what the public thinks of them. I don't know. That's what I think.
Either that, or you got to think about it through the lens of maybe it's a company that's testing something that's very, very secret. They don't want their competitors to know what it is.
Yeah.
And if they come out and say, like, hey, this is our drone and we're testing this new infrared technology, something like that.
Yeah.
Like that they'll go out there and watch that drone and then try to
see what's going on.
Steal that technology or something, or like take it out of the sky. But I mean, there are a lot of people who want to know what these are.
Yeah.
And like maybe they've backed off from the whole we're going to shoot them, because that was a thing for a while.
That was the thing.
Which is not very good, against the law.
Yeah.
But
so we're in agreement. It's aliens.
it must be.
All right. Speaking of things that fly. Our next question seems to come up every time there are serious wildfires, here or elsewhere around the world. Jim wrote in wondering, why isn't the big 747 supertanker helping in Australia? The world's largest firefighting aircraft is still based in Colorado Springs. That global supertanker can hold more than 19,000 gallons of water retardant. It can make 8 drops in a single flight. The company that operates the plane tells us they have been in contact with officials in Australia. There are hundreds of fires burning there, the worst in Australian history. The global supertanker team says it's ready to deploy if needed. It's currently in California, getting maintenance after it helped with fires in Northern California and in the Amazon. Quitting smoking can be an agonizingly difficult process. Colorado's health department is like, well, what if we gave you $10 though? No, for real. Here's Anusha Roy.
It sounds like an infomercial.
There's never been a better time to try to quit smoking, especially if you're a Medicaid member, because all you have to do is call 1-800-QUIT-NOW to get $10 to help you quit smoking in the new year.
But the State Department of Health thinks it's going to work to steer people away from tobacco products.
In California, it was enough money, and in other states who tried this, it was enough money.
So you call 1-800-QUIT-NOW, go through a free coaching session, and then the state mails you a gift card along with free nicotine patches, gums, and lozenges.
We hope that people use that $10 incentive to reward themselves.
But what if some people have a different idea, like buying cigarettes?
We can't ensure that, but we do know that most people who are trying to quit smoking are sincere.
It's a good thing the state's going to study how well this works, since addiction expert Dr. Stephen Wright said it would be a shame to see the money wasted.
We'll want to know if we want to do that kind of investment in the future, not simply cast around for other ideas. ideas.
He said there's a lot of that going on, especially with the opioid crisis. The state has limited funds for this incentive program, which is why they're focusing on people with Medicaid.
Colorado Medicaid members are more likely to smoke than people who have other insurance carriers.
And only set aside enough money to help 1,500 people when roughly 400,000 Coloradans on Medicaid smoke.
One of them is that the tobacco industry has, for a very long time, targeted low-income communities. So, low-income communities are more likely to see cigarette and tobacco advertising, and that makes them, of course, more likely to start smoking.
So there are several studies about that. And also between 2017 and 2018, the number of cigarettes sold dropped. We're talking from 229 billion cigarettes to 216. It's still a lot, but it is at least a drop. As for why, it's important to look at the impact of increasing sales tax, media campaigns, as well as all the conversations about raising the age for who can actually buy cigarettes.
I don't want to be disparaging to anybody's well-meaning effort,
Right.
or to the fact that a lot of people could really use $10.
Right.
But it's $10.
It's $10, and that's what I asked the state. I was like, you really think that this is gonna work? And they said, yeah, we do, because it's worked in other states. But I mean, the important thing is that they're going to be tracking it, right? Because the last thing we need is for them to do it again and nobody took advantage of it and all this money was set aside.
Yeah, the money just blows off in the wind with the
Exactly.
drones in eastern Colorado. All right, thank you, Nusha. A guy in Lakewood decided to ride his bike to work.
Riding to work is way better than driving to work.
And he did it the next day, and the next day.
This will be 10 years and 2 days today, so my goal after today will be 10 years and 3 days.
And when we told you that there are 7 women in Colorado history who have received a rare honor, you wanted to learn a bit more about them. So let's do it next. We dusted off some history here recently, and you came at us with more questions, and that's cool. Remember that mystery portrait from the state capitol, the woman that no one could identify sitting with the governors? We told you that Metro State history professor Derek Everett identified her as Catherine Craig, the first woman to hold state office as the superintendent for public instruction, basically like Department of Education. We learned that Craig was also the 4th woman to ever be laid in state at the Capitol. That is a rare honor for anyone, a man or a woman. And the professor could recall 6 other women who received that rare honor. And you wondered who those women were. So we followed up with the professor in History Colorado and did some library research. The first was Julia Vonderleith Wells in 1912. She was a philanthropist and an advocate for women's suffrage. Alice Hill, the first poet laureate, was the second in 1921. Helen Robinson, the first female state senator, was the third in 1923. Then Catherine Craig in 1934. Mary Bradford was 5th in 1938. She was the first female delegate at the National Democratic Convention in 1908. In 1999, Vicki Buckley, the first African-American woman to hold statewide office. She was Secretary of State. The 7th was Ari Taylor in 2003. She was the first African-American woman to be elected as a state representative.
How's it going, everyone? Meteorologist Daniel Grant, the 9 News Weather Center, tracking a beautiful start to the day. Were you up bright and early? Wow, it was spectacular. Tonight we have a few clouds, a few isolated snow showers coming through the high country. As we head toward the weekend, the winds are really going to kick up, especially into southern Wyoming and parts of Nebraska where they have high wind warnings, high wind watches. Even in the foothills tonight, it will get pretty gusty. Teens this evening for overnight lows, single digits, mainly up in the mountains. As high pressure rotates in, we still might find a little bit of snowfall coming our way to the mountains tomorrow, so keep that in mind. Big storm system bearing down across the Pacific Northwest with a windy day here in Denver. Overnight, those winds as high as about 40 miles per hour up through the foothills. As tomorrow afternoon goes on, we could even see a few spots like Netherland, Idaho Springs, close to 50 mile per hour winds. A little bit of light snowfall again tomorrow morning. Things quiet down, only to see the snow pick back up by the afternoon. We're going to stay dry though here in eastern Colorado. No wet weather to speak of. And again, the bullseye kind of near Steamboat Springs, Rabbit Ears Pass with another about 2 to 4 inches of snow. Tomorrow daytime highs back to the mid 40s. We stay in the 40s for eastern Colorado, 20s, 30s up in the mountains. We warm things up on Saturday before cooling things off into early next week. And right now our next chance of snow here in Denver will be next Thursday.
Tonight's edition of Presented Without Comment is a photo of moving day in Thornton, sent to us by an ex-viewer named Joy. Bungees, man. Bungees. A decade of going to work without rush hour.
You just outside. It's way better than being boxed in.
He'll ride, he'll run, tell you what he won't do.
December 30th, 2009 is the last time I drove to work.
His goal for the new year. Next. "10 years of getting to and from work, a decently long commute, without a single minute stuck in rush hour." A man in Lakewood uses 2 wheels or his own 2 feet, and he's done it every single workday since 2010. We caught up with him on his ride this morning.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Spectacular sunrises. My name is Matt Young. Every morning, I bike to work. December 30th, 2009 is the last time I drove to work. So on December 30th, I made it 10 years without driving to work once. I have biked a whole bunch and run just a little. The best part of my job is my commute. And that's not because I don't like my job, but I'm happier, I'm healthier, I'm more productive at work. I get the blood pumping, it just feels great. So it's 5.5 miles one way. I guess it's harder some days than other. I wouldn't say it's hard. I've ridden through sore knee, colds, coughs. When it gets really cold, that's tough, like 0 degrees or below 0. And so I have developed ways for that. I've got different socks, but I also put my shoes and gloves on a heater before I put them on. That's effective, but it's actually better if it gets a little colder and snowing than if it's raining. That's not fun. Still better than being in a car. I have several reasons for biking to work. Environmental, health, a little bit political, but any one of those reasons is enough for me to be out on my bike. I'm just happier when I do that.
Matt also loves keeping records. He has gone to work on his bike more than 3,000 times. He calculates 25,000 miles. He ran to work precisely 26 times for a total of 243 miles. On this Throwback Thursday, let's remember what commute times around Denver used to be back in, 1910. No, check it out. 1910, 30 minutes out to Arvada, 35 minutes to Aurora, 45 minutes to Littleton. So this is an ad that I found in an old Swedish language newspaper in Denver. They were trying to sell property in Westminster to immigrants. The ad's trying to convince people that Westminster isn't that much farther from downtown than those other places. The commute back then, of course, was mainly by streetcar. I'm curious how it compares to your commute today. So next, viewers are writing in this evening with real-time drone spotting updates in the metro area. This is going to get out of control, but we'll discuss next. All right, so Pat Radigan sent us drone video from Inglewood, Joe from Brighton. Mason thinks it's hilarious we're all worked up. He thinks people are just flying drones that they got for the holidays. Those ones out east, the sheriff thinks are pretty big, Mason. But yeah, the one in Inglewood, that could be your neighbor's kid. We'll see you next time.